Welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, classic slash non-classic. This is episode number 614 and Doubleshot number 520. Two DC trades, one of whom is a standalone trade, but it does collect somebody who I've reviewed in the past, namely Manhunter. Now, this is not Kate Spencer, mind you. No, this is the second Manhunter, Paul Kirk. Yep. This is basically a trade called Manhunter Special Edition. And believe it or not, this trade came out 19 years ago. I'm not kidding about that. It did. Yeah, this is almost a 20-year-old trade. And this came out in 1999. And these issues, the issues that are printed here, are the backup feature for Manhunter from Detective Comics, issues number 437 to 443, roughly a 7-issue backup story. Now, the writing is done by the late Archie Goodwin, who actually passed away in 1999. Those of you not familiar with Archie Goodwin, he's the guy who created Luke Cage and a bunch of other characters. But Luke Cage is one of his most famous creations. Who created Paul Kirk? Jack the King Kirby. Yep. Though the costume is not Kirby's design, that is actually from Walt Simonson. Also, here's what the costume looks like in color. Yes, in color. Yeah, that's what the costume looks like. This entire story is simply Paul Kirk hunting down a group of people known as the Council. That's literally people's art, and they cloned him, basically trying to do assassinations of various people, and he's trying to hunt them all down. He does briefly team with Batman toward the end of this feature, which does result in Paul Kirk's death. And by the way, this death stuck. It wasn't undone by some other writer. Yeah, this death has stuck since 1974. Though yes, there was a clone that popped up in. There was a guy who looked like him. It was really a clone. As for this guy, yeah, this guy's been dead for almost 50 years. Yeah, this guy died 43 years ago. This character. Yeah, after he died, the costume would be put on the clone. As for his sword that's seen in the cover, yeah, Timothy Truman decided to take that sword and give it to his version of Hawkman, the K-Tar Hawkman from the Hawk World story. Yeah, it's the same exact weapon. Yeah, get a look at that. Yeah, those of you who ever see the Prestige edition of the Hawk World miniseries, and hey, that sword looks very familiar. It is. It's the same exact sword, though it's a different type of sword. But yeah, Timothy Truman would take that sword and give it to Hawkman, and he kept it up until his death. Yeah, the K-Tar Hawkman, the Hawk World reboot version, who kept it from his debut from Hawk World number 1 to his death in Hawkman Volume 3, issue number 33. By far a really good classic set of stories. I give this 10 out of 10. It's a great thing to feature in here. But here's kind of the thing about this version of Manhunter. This is the only thing that DC has ever collected for him. I'm not kidding about that. Despite the fact he's had a feature in Adventure Comics of all things, which I have read. And get this, originally Paul Kirk was not a Manhunter. Nope, he was a private detective that they made a Manhunter about 3 years after his debut, simply when DC bought, I think it was Quality Comics, I think it was. What was the name of the company originally published this character? Let's see. Yeah, Quality Comics. Yeah, when the original one, Dan Richards popped up in the pages of Police Comics number 8. Yeah, it just wasn't by sheer coincidence. Paul Kirk made his debut the same year as Dan Richards, but these two never met. During the original publication period they were around. They didn't officially meet until an issue of Young All-Stars, a tie-in to the event Millennium, which they did meet. They fought. Oh, those of you curious, what was Paul Kirk's original costume? Because this is his most definitive looking costume people think of when people think of Paul Kirk, especially from Kirk Busiek's Power Company run. Let's see if I can find it here. Yeah, his original costume was a lot different. Those of you who when I show off the costume, like, man, that costume looks a lot like very familiar. I saw it here when I was reading it today. Yeah, it was today. I was reading it. I think it was yesterday today. I'm trying to find it here. Here he is. Yep. This is what Manhunter. This is what Parker's first costume looked like. Yeah, like okay, you look at that like, hey, doesn't that look like doesn't that look like the appearance of the Manhunter robots? Yeah, there's kind of a reason for that. You see, the Manhunter robots are also a Jack Kirby creation. They were the Green Lantern's predecessors as well, the police corps for the Guardians of the Universe. Yeah, and Paul Kirk and Dan Richards wore the same exact costume. Well, to the people. Now, when they briefly fought in the Young All-Star series, yeah, they said, okay, let's just keep these two as what they are, while Dan Richards went to the Freedom Fighters, and Paul Kirk went to the All-Star Squadron. Yep. The artwork in here is fantastic by Walt Simonson, who is still alive, by the way. If I ever get a chance to meet Walt Simonson, I'm going to ask him, what was Archie Goodwin like? Because the guy was a fantastic writer. The guy knew how to write good characters. I mean, Paul Kirk is not that big of a character. I mean, has this guy featured in the comics? Yes. Once in an episode of Beware the Batman, which loosely adapted this very storyline. Well, the ending of it anyways. But yeah, they loosely adapted this very storyline into an episode of Beware the Batman. Yeah, the all CGI show that replaced Green Lantern. It was a good series. I really enjoyed it. And I really did enjoy the Manhunter episode. And he even wore this very costume when he showed up. Yeah. Where do I get this? I get this overall a 10 out of 10. It's a really good story. I highly recommend it. But DC, for the love of God, get this trade of new printing. And please also collect the guy's original feature from Adventure Comics. Yeah, that would be interesting. If they were about to do it. But according to what I've heard, the reason stuff like that doesn't get published because there's not high demand for it. I think there should be demand for a lot of these characters to get new printing, especially in series like Hellblazer, Nightwing, like a lot of the Batman books. Excuse me. Green Arrow, Mark Waid and Jeff Johns run for Flash are getting collected and trade. Let's see. Kyle Rayner's era for Green Lantern getting new printing. Heck, even the first 50 issues are getting new. First 50 issue of Volume 3 of Green Lantern, that's getting new printing as well. And even the original volume of Green Lantern Corps, which is going to be called Green Lantern Corps Beware Thy Power, which is going to collect the remaining 18 issues of the first volume of the Green Lantern Corps series. Though I kind of wish we had a little bit more of this thing. Alright. Next up is Superman, Wonder Woman, Volume 1, Power Couple. Collecting the first 7 issues of this ongoing series. And yes, this is the last string of review for this thing because all the other trades. Except Volume 2. There's a good reason for that. No need to review that series because I technically have already reviewed that trade thanks to reading the issues in the Superman Doom trade. Yeah, it's one of those mini trades that honestly really has no reason to exist at all, except because DC want to shove everything in a regular volume thing. The issues in here written by Charles Shaw, and the artwork is by Tony S. Daniel. I'm thinking, Charles Shaw, doesn't he work at Marvel now? Well, this is before he left for Marvel. He worked on this book, he worked on Swamp Thing, he even worked on Red Lanterns. The guy was a big smash hit at DC Comics. Heck, he's one of the very people who actually got a big start at DC, who actually has been a pretty good success at Marvel. The only people that are exceptions to this rule are Denny O'Neil and Jerry Conway because they were a success at both. The only one that's now a success at DC was Steve Ditko because he didn't do a lot of comic books at DC because originally he was working for Charlton Comics and then he had to work for DC because DC bought the company. Now, this collects the first 7 issues of the series, which is simply a prelude. It's basically set up for the Superman Doom crossover. The first 6 issues, well, has the debut of the company Catco, the public revelation of and Wonder Woman being a couple at this point, though this series has been undone thanks to Superman Reborn. Oh yeah, and also we get a chance to see Superman and Wonder Woman taking on General Zod and Fiora, who, by the way, is drawn like the actress who played her in Man of Steel. I pointed this out to Chris Ventura. He agrees with me. Yeah, it looks exactly like the actress who plays her in Man of Steel. Zod, of course, well, looking at him, appearance-wise, heck, even under a different artist, he looks exactly the same. Yeah, that's the thing. I don't mind his redesign. His redesign is fine. I don't have a problem with his redesign. It's a great look for him. Also, we have sort of the unofficial first meeting between Superman and Wonder Woman and the Justice League of America, though. Now, when this thing came out, there was an editorial note in here says this is before Trinity War. But for some reason, the trade took out the editorial note. I don't know why. But the lineup for Justice League America, who's here, is Hawkman, Steve Trevor, Vibe, and Martian Manhunter. Yeah, they're the only ones here. Now, Superman do not know about the Argus team of Justice League America. They don't know about that yet. They don't know about it until Trinity War. Let's see if I can find it here. Let's see. If I can find a good picture of her. Here she is. Yeah, I don't know if I'm the only one that's pointed this out, but the way she's drawn is that she's drawn to look exactly like the actress who played Man of Steel. Let me look up the actress who played her, because yeah, it's a striking resemblance. And I'm surprised that Tony S. Daniel actually drew her like this. Let's see. The actress played Laura is, if I can find her on here. Let's see. Fiora is played by Antigi Chetru, I think it's how you pronounce her name. Yeah, I'm sorry if I mispronounced her name. But yeah, she's a German actress, and yeah, it's a very striking resemblance to the actress the way she looked in the film at the time of the film's release. And I'm actually quite surprised they actually did this, though. Well, I think when she reappeared in the pages of Action Comics, they did kind of slightly redesign her. Also, they also have Tony S. Daniel draw Doomsday in here. Yeah, Doomsday shows up in the opening issue. It's a bit of a shock to see this guy in this continuity. This is actually his first appearance post-Flashpoint, though Dan Jurgens is going to properly bring him back during his run for Action Comics. Yeah, within like his first arc. Though he disappeared and came back in Lonely Place of Dying. Lonely Place of Living, excuse me. Let's see if I can find him here. Here he is. Here is Doomsday drawn like Tony S. Daniel. Yeah, though a lot of the time when this guy appears, he's got no pants. Yeah. It's a really good looking design. I gotta praise Tony S. Daniel for doing that. Yeah, it looks good. But it's not like the way he was normally, where he looks like he was like torn up. It looks like his clothes are very neatly done, and he's got like a strap on his back. It's a very good redesign for Doomsday. I've actually spoken to Dan Jurgens about this. He has seen this. I think he said he's seen this. He has no problem with the redesign that Tony S. Daniel did for Doomsday. Now, this is the New 52 Doomsday, not the version Dan Jurgens created for Death of Superman. Though that version did come back in the pages of Action Comics. Now, overall, what do I give this particular trade? Even though this trade really doesn't matter anymore. Also, some people can also say this particular series was meant to advertise the Wonder Woman title, because the title never featured any characters outside of the Wonder Woman supporting cast. Yeah, which also feature in here the god of the sun, Apollo, who is a dick. Yeah, he tried to take on Superman because he's the god of the sun, and he tried to use his sun power on Superman, and it doesn't work at all. It doesn't hurt him. It makes him stronger and beats the living crap out of him. And also, he sticks up for Wonder Woman. It's like, you dare disrespect her again, I will hurt you more. He's like, bring it on. So he beats the living crap out of him. Heck, even Enzo, I think her name is, the woman who can kind of go giant size. Yeah, I don't know why in the world they have this particular character in here, where Wonder Woman already has a character go giant size. Her name is Giganta. And yet, here's the weird thing. Giganta had never appeared in pages of the Wonder Woman comic since the relaunch. She appeared in this series for one issue, fighting Wonder Woman. The rest of the time, she appeared in pages of Trinity of Sam Pandora of all books. Yeah. This overall is good, but this series really had no reason to exist at all, simply because I, at the time, didn't really agree with the whole idea of these two being a couple, because even though I wasn't reading DC Comics at that point, I kind of always assumed that Superman's primary love interest was Lois Lane, not Wonder Woman. Though I've heard the reasoning for why DC hooked these two up. It's not because their powers are equal. Oh no, I heard the reason is actually really stupid. You want to know what the reason is? To appease Twilight fans. Yeah, that's the reason why they hooked these two up. To appease Twilight fans. That's the only reason why they did this. Which, in my opinion, is stupid. I'm sure a lot of people will probably agree with me. Appeasing the fans of Twilight. So, you appease them by hooking up Superman and Wonder Woman. Okay. Fine. Also, they never reveal in here who took the picture of Superman and Wonder Woman making out. Yeah, that is something that this series never revealed that plot thread. Yeah, Scholl never revealed it because he left the book after 12 issues. I'm not kidding about that. Somehow Cat Grant got her hands on this picture. As for who took it, never explained. Yeah, that's a plot thread that goes absolutely nowhere. Because not even Pierre J. Tomasi bothers to deal with that plot thread. Yeah, he just wants to tell a good story. Instead of resolving a plot thread Scholl had to do. As for why Scholl left this series, I have honestly no idea. I'm probably going to get a chance to ask Pierre J. Tomasi about it, like why did he have to leave Pierre J. Tomasi to take over at issue 13. Yeah, because by 12, Scholl was gone. Completely gone. And Tony S. Daniel did draw this series for a good period of time. He didn't draw all 12 issues. He drew most of the first 12 issues before, have the artwork duties to Doug Mahnke, who is a very good artist, by the way. Yeah, but overall, really good. It's just really kind of bad, though, that the whole plot thread with Cat Grant in here really is never resolved. I don't think even Scott Lobdell, or I don't think any of the Superman books about to resolve this little plot thread of how in the world did Cat Grant get this picture, because the way it's shown in here, in that book, is that she somehow gets this anonymously, and then she publishes it, and becomes a big story for Clark Catco, though later retitled Catco. Yeah, I just kind of wish Scholl would have resolved that little plot thread before he left the book. I don't know, he could have resolved the thread in maybe a backup story for the annual, but nope, the annual just dealt with Superman Doomed. And what about issue 12? Nope, that's the aftermath of Doom. And what about issue 13? Nope, Pierre J. Tomasi takes over, and that plot thread was never resolved. By the time the series ended, it's the only plot thread that was never resolved. Yeah, all the rest of the plot threads that ran that the whole series was resolved, but also there was another plot thread that was never resolved in this particular thing. Yeah, Zod and Fiora disappeared. They weren't seen again until somehow they ended up back in the Phantom Zone in the pages of Suicide Squad, and somehow the Suicide Squad got their hands on the Phantom Protector and got Zod. As for how Zod got back in the Phantom Zone, that is also something that's never been explained. Yeah, it's one of those many questions DC basically people have asked them that, as far as I know, no one has bothered to explain. So here are the three questions that when I finished reading this book, that as far as I know, DC, I don't think Scholl basically wants to do it because he's busy at Marvel. Tony S. Daniel doesn't want to do something with it, and with this series being retconned out of continuity thanks to the events of Superman Reborn, we'll never get a chance to answer these questions. Okay, and the questions are this. Who gave Cat Grant that picture of Superman 1 making out? 2. Where did General Zod and Fiora go after they left in here? Because after this, the only appearance they made after this was Zod appeared in like 2 one-shots for Villains Month. And that's it. That's really his only appearance. And then in Return to Page of Suicide Squad, basically takes place as the Parasite, as being a character who laid on a slab for like 20 issues before the Ray finally did something with him. Let's see, what else? Also, another plot thread that I don't think was resolved here, as far as I can tell, was never resolved. How in the world that Doomsday got out of the Phantom Zone and then got back in it? Yeah, that plot thread was never resolved. Because Doomsday shows up completely at random while he takes out a plane of all things. Yeah, I don't remember if that plot thread was ever resolved. But as far as I can tell, 4 plot threads. Like, I just list off 3 plot threads that were never resolved by the time you finish up Scholl's brief run he had for this book. Yeah, I'm sure that a lot of people can probably point out if these plot threads are resolved. I can think of 2 of them. The first 2 I know for a fact were never resolved because Scholl left the book. Peter and Tomasi didn't give a damn about it. As far as I can tell, Greg Pak didn't want to do anything with it at all. As far as I can tell, he's never done anything with it. Scott Lobdell over in Superman, when these issues came out, as far as I can tell, he left the book partway through Superman Doomed, and Geoff Johns, as far as I can tell, never did with it because he did his storyline with Ulysses. Let's see, what else? The guy who replaced him, as far as I can tell, that I don't think he wanted to do anything with it because he's busy with Dark Truth. Yeah. Otherwise, though, that's really it for this episode. I'm sure that Tivia probably, if he ever revealed that trade, I think he has. I don't remember, but I'm sure he probably asked these questions too when he finished reading this thing. Yeah, I'm sure he did. Tivia, if you have asked those questions, if you did get a chance to, I think you have. I know you reviewed the later trades. I don't remember if you reviewed that one or not. If you have, send me a link in the comments below and I'll get a chance to watch it. But if you have the same questions I had about this particular 7 issues, I'm sure you would basically be asking the same questions. But the thing is, do you think that these issues are resolved? That's just a thing. Alright, so that's it for this episode. Stay tuned for the next episode, which is episode number 615 and Doubleshot number 521, where I'm going to cover 2 Green Lantern trades in the next episode. Okay? But until I see you there, bye.